In a move that has sparked significant controversy and concern among LGBTQ+ advocates, Secretary of State Marco Rubio has instructed staff at the U.S. State Department to halt passport applications that request an X gender marker. This directive, communicated via email, comes in the wake of President Donald Trump's recent executive order asserting that federal documents should reflect only two sexes, male and female. The implications of this policy shift are profound, as it effectively negates the progress made in recognizing and accommodating non-binary and intersex individuals in the legal documentation process. Rubio's email, first reported by The Guardian, specifically directs staff to suspend any application requesting an X-sex marker and any request to amend existing documents to reflect a different sex marker. The timing of this directive is crucial, as it follows closely on the heels of Trump's executive order, which mandates that federal documents accurately reflect the holder's sex. This order presents a narrow and restrictive definition of sex, dismissing the complexities acknowledged by experts in biology and gender studies. The policy of the United States is that an individual's sex is not changeable, Rubio's email states, which raises alarms among advocates and legal experts. The order not only undermines the validity of individuals' gender identities but also poses potential legal and logistical challenges for many who have already obtained passports with an X marker. The X marker was introduced in 2022 after a lengthy legal battle initiated by Dana Zzym, a non-binary and intersex U.S. Navy veteran who sued the State Department for the right to choose a gender-neutral designation. Since then, applicants have been able to self-select their gender markers. However, the recent developments have created widespread panic and confusion, particularly within trans communities, as the new policy threatens to invalidate the identities of countless individuals. Legal experts are closely monitoring the situation. Chase Strangeau, a senior attorney at the ACLU, expressed concern over how these changes will impact pending applications and the broader implications for individuals seeking to update their documentation. The fact that the State Department took down the instructions from the website about how to update the sex designation on a passport indicates that there is probably some action already in motion to prevent further updates to those documents, he warned. As of now, passports that have already been issued with an X marker remain valid, but the future of such designations is uncertain. The State Department has not clarified how individuals with existing X markers will navigate future applications, nor has it provided guidance on the renewal process. The executive order and Rubio's directive have drawn heavy criticism, including from biologists and gender rights advocates who argue that the decision is not only scientifically unfounded but also discriminatory. As the situation continues to evolve, there are significant concerns about the long-term ramifications for rights and recognition of non-binary and intersex individuals in the United States. In conclusion, the recent actions taken by Secretary Rubio and the Trump administration mark a troubling regression in the fight for gender inclusivity and recognition, as advocacy groups prepare for potential legal battles and public pushback. The broader implications for LGBTQ+ rights in federal policy remain to be seen. The ongoing discourse surrounding these developments will likely shape the landscape of gender identity recognition in the U.S. for years to come. In a series of significant developments for the U.S. military and its leadership, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has made headlines with his recent activities across Europe, including his inaugural overseas trip to the U.S. Africa Command AFRICOM and his engagement with military families in Germany. These events come on the heels of a contentious renaming of a military installation and discussions about U.S. troop deployments in Ukraine, indicating a pivotal moment in U.S. defense policy. On February 11, 2025, Hegseth visited AFRICOM headquarters in Stuttgart, Germany, where he met with General Michael E. Langley and other senior leaders. This visit marked a critical point in Hegseth's tenure, as it was his first official trip abroad since his appointment. During a town hall meeting with military and civilian personnel, he emphasized the Department of Defense's commitment to enhancing military readiness and strengthening partnerships to address emerging global threats. Two combatant commands that are right in front lines of advancing American interests. "Proud to be here today. It's an impressive display of what Americans are doing in far-flung places for the American people," he stated, highlighting the importance of U.S. military engagement in Africa. AFRICOM is tasked with overseeing military operations in 53 African nations, focusing on countering malign actors and fostering regional security. This mission is increasingly vital as the geopolitical landscape shifts, with AFRICOM working closely with allied nations to combat transnational threats and crises on the continent. Hegseth's visit underscores the Pentagon's strategic priorities as it seeks to adapt to a rapidly changing environment. However, Hegseth's trip was not without controversy. Following his visit, military families stationed in Germany expressed their discontent with his leadership, staging protests that condemned his recent decisions, including the controversial renaming of Fort Liberty to Fort Roland Eldbrag. Critics argue that such changes are indicative of broader issues within military leadership and its responsiveness to the needs of service members and their families. In addition to these on-ground issues, Hegseth also addressed the potential for U.S. troop deployments to Ukraine amid ongoing tensions in Eastern Europe. "We are evaluating all options to support our allies while ensuring the safety and readiness of our forces," he said, reflecting the administration's cautious approach to involvement in the Ukraine conflict. This statement comes as the Biden administration continues to weigh its options regarding military support for Ukraine, which remains a focal point in U.S.-Russia relations. As defense policies and military strategies continue to evolve, Hegseth's recent activities signal a pivotal moment for the U.S. military's engagement both at home and abroad. The outcomes of these discussions and protests will likely shape future defense strategies and the overall relationship between military leadership and personnel. As the situation develops, the Defense Department's ability to balance military readiness with the concerns of service members will be critical in fostering a cohesive and effective military force. Looking ahead, Hegseth's initiatives and the response from military families will undoubtedly influence the direction of U.S. defense policy, particularly as it pertains to international commitments and domestic military culture. The coming weeks will be crucial as the Pentagon navigates these complex challenges while aiming to uphold its commitment to national security and global stability. In an increasingly polarized political landscape, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s rise to prominence as a potential U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services encapsulates a complex intertwining of conspiracy theories, anti-establishment sentiment, and a unique coalition of supporters from various political backgrounds. His trajectory from environmental advocate to a figure synonymous with vaccine skepticism and health misinformation poses profound questions about public trust in health authorities and the implications for U.S. health policy. Kennedy's controversial views have been magnified since a notable speech in Berlin in August 2020 where he addressed a crowd estimated at 38,000. This gathering, organized by the anti-lockdown group Querdenken, comprised a diverse mix of attendees, from environmentalists and anti-war activists to far-right groups. During this speech, Kennedy made sweeping claims that governments exploit crises such as pandemics to impose control, a sentiment that resonates with many who feel disenfranchised by traditional political structures. His assertion that governments love pandemics for the same reason they love war underscores a narrative that has gained traction among those skeptical of governmental authority. Fast forward to January 2025 and Kennedy finds himself at the forefront of a Senate confirmation hearing poised to potentially lead the Department of Health and Human Services. His confirmation has garnered mixed reactions, particularly from health professionals who have long criticized his anti-vaccine stances. Senator Ron Wyden described Kennedy's career as one built on sowing doubt about vaccines, labeling him a dangerous nominee. Despite these concerns, Republican Senator Susan Collins has publicly announced her support for Kennedy, citing his commitment to developing a Lyme disease vaccine and restoring confidence in vaccination programs. Collins' backing is particularly significant given the narrow margin within the Senate where every vote counts. As Kennedy prepares for what could be a pivotal role in shaping U.S. health policy, analysts are watching the broader implications of his potential confirmation. The concept of diagonalism, as described by political theorists William Callison and Quinn Slobodian, highlights how disparate political and social movements can coalesce around common grievances against perceived power structures. This phenomenon has allowed figures like Kennedy to capitalize on a growing distrust of traditional institutions, from big pharma to governmental health agencies. By presenting himself as a champion of the individual against the deep state, Kennedy mirrors sentiments voiced by other populist leaders, particularly in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic and its accompanying mandates. The ramifications of Kennedy's ascent are profound. Health experts and advocacy groups have raised alarms about the potential dangers of placing a prominent anti-vaccine proponent in charge of health policy. A coalition of over 355 healthcare professionals in Maine urged Senator Collins to reconsider her support, arguing that Kennedy's influence could further erode public trust in vaccines and essential health strategies. The political landscape is fraught with challenges, as Kennedy's confirmation could signal a shift towards a more conspiratorial and skeptical approach to public health, undermining years of progress in vaccination and disease prevention. As the Senate deliberates Kennedy's nomination, the outcome may not only shape the future of health policy in the United States but also reflect broader societal trends regarding trust, authority, and the role of misinformation in shaping public discourse. Should Kennedy be confirmed, the potential for an era defined by diagonalism and skepticism of scientific consensus looms large, raising urgent questions about the future of public health in a nation increasingly divided along ideological lines. As the political landscape continues to evolve, the full impact of Kennedy's policies and rhetoric on American society remains to be seen. In a heated confirmation hearing that underscored the political polarization surrounding the new administration, Pamela Bondi, President Donald Trump's designee for Attorney General, faced intense scrutiny from Democratic senators. The session, held on January 15, 2025, quickly turned combative, particularly with Senators Adam Schiff and Alex Padilla, who questioned Bondi's past statements and potential conflicts of interest. Senator Padilla initiated the confrontation by referencing Bondi's controversial appearance in Philadelphia during the aftermath of the 2020 election, where she joined Rudy Giuliani to proclaim victory in Pennsylvania without evidence of electoral fraud. Do you have any evidence of election fraud or irregularities in the 2020 election? Padilla pressed, clearly skeptical of Bondi's claims. Bondi attempted to respond, but Padilla interrupted her, prompting Bondi to retort, "I'm not going to be bullied by you, Senator Padilla." This exchange set the tone for a hearing marked by interruptions and fiery exchanges. The tension escalated as Padilla shifted to questions regarding birthright citizenship, referencing the 14th Amendment. Bondi, unyielding, shot back, "I'm here to answer your questions. I'm not here to do your homework and study for you." This moment encapsulated the broader theme of the hearing, Bondi's determination to assert her authority while navigating a barrage of partisan attacks. Schiff's questioning was equally pointed. As a prominent critic of Trump during his presidency, Schiff focused on Bondi's independence, asking if she would refuse a request to investigate former special counsel Jack Smith. Bondi responded cautiously, stating, "I haven't seen the file. It would be irresponsible of me to make a commitment." Schiff pressed further, questioning her ability to tell Trump he lost the election. Bondi dismissed this as a gotcha question, insisting, "I will never play politics." The hearing demonstrated not only the contentious relationship between the incoming Attorney General and Democratic senators but also highlighted the broader implications of Bondi's confirmation. Bondi's tenure as Florida's Attorney General from 2011 to 2019 has raised concerns among Democrats, particularly regarding her alignment with Trump's policies and her handling of sensitive issues like the January 6 Capitol riots. When asked about her approach to pardons for those involved in the riots, Bondi expressed frustration at the line of questioning, noting the pressing crime rates in California rather than engaging with the specifics of her potential role in such decisions. Despite the contentious exchanges, Bondi's confirmation appears largely secure, as her nomination is not expected to encounter significant obstacles. Following the hearing, she quickly moved to assert her agenda, issuing a series of memoranda that reflect the Trump administration's priorities. Among these, the General Policy Memo emphasizes a strict approach to prosecutorial decisions, mandating that federal prosecutors pursue the most serious charges in criminal cases. This directive signals a potential shift in the Justice Department's enforcement landscape, particularly concerning corporate misconduct. Additionally, Bondi has initiated a focus on dismantling cartels and transnational criminal organizations, vowing to allocate significant resources to address what her office deems historic threats from drug trafficking and illegal immigration. This approach includes the reconstitution of Joint Task Force Vulcan, underscoring a commitment to aggressive law enforcement tactics. As Bondi settles into her role, her policies will likely draw significant attention and scrutiny. The new Attorney General's actions in the coming months will be pivotal, not only in shaping the Justice Department's direction but also in navigating the ongoing political divisions that characterize the current landscape. With key issues like corporate enforcement and civil rights at the forefront, the implications of her leadership will resonate well beyond the confirmation hearing, marking a crucial chapter in the evolving narrative of American governance. As the administration moves forward, all eyes will be on how Bondi balances her allegiance to Trump with the demands of her office and the expectations of a deeply divided Congress. In a significant move reflecting the evolving dynamics of international relations and resource management. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is set to visit Ukraine for discussions focused on rare earth minerals. The visit comes amid renewed efforts by the U.S. government to address the complexities surrounding the ongoing conflict between Ukraine and Russia and to explore potential avenues for economic collaboration with Kyiv. Scheduled for February 20, Bessent's trip will coincide with Vice President J.D. Vance's meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the Munich Security Conference. This high-profile gathering is expected to serve as a pivotal platform for negotiating peace and strengthening U.S.-Ukraine ties. Bessent's discussions will encompass sanctions, the allocation of U.S. funding, and the strategic importance of Ukraine's vast mineral resources, which have become increasingly vital in the context of global supply chains. The backdrop to this diplomatic push is former President Donald Trump's recent statements emphasizing the need for Ukraine to offer access to its rare earth minerals in exchange for U.S. military aid. "I want it back, $500 billion worth of rare earth," Trump stated, highlighting a transactional approach that could redefine U.S. involvement in the region. This perspective aligns with broader geopolitical trends where nations are vying for control over these critical materials as the world transitions to greener technologies. Bessent's recent confirmation as Treasury Secretary underscores the urgency of these discussions. With a robust background as a hedge fund manager and a focus on economic issues, he is expected to leverage his expertise to navigate the complexities of sanctions and resource negotiations. His visit is seen not only as a diplomatic mission but also as a strategic effort to bolster U.S. economic interests in a region that has become increasingly important in the global context. The implications of this diplomatic overture are manifold. On one hand, it signals a potential pivot in U.S. foreign policy under Trump's leadership, moving away from unconditional support for Ukraine and towards a more strategic resource-based partnership. On the other hand, it raises questions about the long-term sustainability of Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity, especially given Putin's demands for territorial concessions. The Munich Security Conference, a historic venue for addressing global security issues, is anticipated to be a critical juncture for these discussions. European officials have expressed skepticism about the prospects of a concrete peace plan emerging from the conference, citing the complexities of negotiations among key players including Trump, Zelensky, and Putin. The stakes are high as the ongoing conflict has already resulted in significant loss of life and suffering. As the situation unfolds, the potential for increased sanctions against Russia remains on the table, with many in the US and Europe advocating for a unified response to Moscow's aggression. The outcome of these talks could reshape the landscape of U.S.-Ukraine relations and set the tone for future international engagements in the region. In conclusion, Besant's visit to Ukraine represents more than just a diplomatic gesture, it is a strategic maneuver in a rapidly changing geopolitical environment. As the U.S. looks to balance its interests with those of its allies and partners, the negotiations surrounding rare earth minerals could pave the way for a new era of cooperation or conflict. The coming weeks will be crucial in determining the trajectory of U.S. policy towards Ukraine and the broader implications for global resource management. In a recent confirmation hearing that has captured national attention, Howard Lutnick, President Donald Trump's nominee for Secretary of Commerce, dismissed the widely held belief that tariffs contribute to inflation as nonsense. His remarks made before the Senate Commerce, Science and Transportation Committee come at a time when inflation remains a pivotal issue in American politics, particularly following the Biden administration's struggle with rising prices. During the hearing, Lutnick pointed out that the two countries with the highest tariffs, India and China, currently experience little to no inflation. A particular product's price may go up, he acknowledged, but he vehemently argued against the notion that tariffs lead to widespread inflation, asserting, "It's just nonsense to say that tariffs cause inflation." Lutnick's testimony is significant not only for its content but also for its timing. Inflation rates spiked to 9.1% in June 2022, becoming a central theme in the recent 2024 election cycle as Trump campaigned on a platform promising to lower household prices. As part of his proposal, Lutnick favored implementing across-the-board tariffs on a country-by-country basis rather than targeting specific sectors or products. He cautioned that selective tariffs could lead to retaliatory measures, saying, "When you pick one product in Mexico, they'll pick one product. All you're doing is picking on farmers." Further expanding on his philosophy regarding trade, Lutnick emphasized the need for the United States to adopt a more reciprocal trading stance. He criticized the global trading environment, suggesting that U.S. industries face unfair treatment abroad. "We can use tariffs to create reciprocity," he stated, advocating for a system that holds other nations accountable for their trade practices. Lutnick's comments also echoed a sentiment recently expressed by Trump, who described the European Union as very, very bad to us and suggested that tariffs may be the only way to achieve fairness in trade. This perspective aligns with Lutnick's assertion that U.S. farmers, ranchers, and fishermen are not treated with the respect they deserve in international markets. He pointed out specific instances where European regulations hinder American agricultural exports, declaring that it is just wrong that American products face such barriers. As the confirmation process moves forward with a committee and full Senate vote expected soon, Lutnick's positions signal a potential shift in U.S. trade policy that could have far-reaching implications. Trump has already indicated plans to impose a 25% tariff on goods from Canada and Mexico and to increase tariffs on Chinese imports by 10%. These actions could spark a trade war as nations including Canada, Mexico, and various European countries have prepared to retaliate against U.S. tariffs. As Lutnick prepares to take the helm of the Commerce Department, the outcomes of his proposed strategies and the administration's broader trade policies will be closely watched. With tensions rising in international trade relations, the coming months may prove crucial in shaping the future of U.S. economic diplomacy. Lutnick's assertion that tariffs can serve as tools of fairness rather than mere economic burdens may ignite a broader debate on how the U.S. can best navigate its position in an increasingly complex global market.